So I've just been talking about the importance of consultation, and I just want to anchor on this point a little bit, just to stress some of the key points I made regarding that. As and this unit is really as Undertake project work. It's really about being a senior project officer or a manager and using project methodology to do your work. But in any position of responsibility, such as a management or leadership responsibility, we're less reliant on our technical skills and we're more reliant on our leadership skills. And that often means getting the right information from the right sources. And the right sources are the people doing the job. So the people in the coalface are the people who have the best understanding of the task, the challenges of the task, and often have some really good ideas in terms of how to improve or make that task better or easier. So one of the key competencies that we have as leaders and managers is about being able to really draw on that, having the skills to like a conduit to get all this information and centralize it through us as the manager and leader. So that requires good communication skills, which we'll talk more about shortly, but it requires really good consultation skills, being able to consult, particularly in this context, with the project team, making sure that we have open channels of communication where we're able to share information with them, but importantly, able to gather information from them. And the really positive byproduct from that is that when we consult and when we're able to use those ideas to shape our plans and our processes going forward, people see their contributions within our strategy. So if you're my manager or my leader or my senior officer and you're consulting me on how we should do something and I make some suggestions, and you may not take on board all my suggestions, but if you take on some of those suggestions and I see that embedded within our strategy going forward, I immediately I'm connected with that work. So it gets buy-in from me. It gets that level of commitment that I perhaps would not have if I didn't see my voice permeate through that work. Then it doesn't become mine, it's just yours. And if you're my manager and leader, and if you're making all the decisions without consulting and those decisions don't work, well then I don't really have much skin in the game. But if it's mine, if I've made contributions and my contributions permeate through the strategy that we're employing or the processes and actions that we're undertaking, then I have skin in the game. It's within my interest to make sure that it works because, that was my suggestion that's embedded within that. So consultation has that wonderful that wonderful byproduct of getting that buy-in and commitment from those whom we've consulted. But if we're going to ask people to participate, if we're going to consult, we have to genuinely and authentically really want that information. So, it becomes, my view is that it's obvious when people see this pretty quickly when you ask for feedback or ask for ideas, but you're not really receptive to them. You're only doing it because, someone in some course somewhere told you that you should. You have to really be genuine about understanding its value, being committed to the value of consultation, so that when you ask, you're genuinely looking for feedback because that's going to feed into the decisions you're going to make, and that's about being open and honest and about being genuine. So consultation requires openness, honesty, but it also takes timely and credible communication channels. So when we do have meetings or we have discussions and we're talking about these things, that they're done at the right time and as I said, they're genuine, so people get that sense of that it's credible what we're doing. When we think about communication, and I'll talk more about this shortly, but also when we think about consultation, it's just making sure that we have multiple approaches so that we don't exclude any particular dimension of the team or segment of the team. So, if we only consult via email and some of the team members communicate well with email, but some don't because of the nature of the work that they do, we potentially could be including those who have access to email or good access to email, and we could be excluding those who don't. So we want to think about, particularly when we talk about the project team, we want to think about the project team members, and that can be, when we talk about project team members, and again, I'll talk about this shortly, but they can be permanent or contracted or outsourced to a degree. We want to think about what's the best way to communicate and consult with them. What's their best medium? Is it email, or is it through an intranet page such as SharePoint? Is it verbal? Do they prefer over the phone, or even text messages, or face-to-face meetings? What's the best way to communicate and consult, and then perhaps have a strategy that encompasses multiple approaches so that we don't try and get one to fit everybody. An important part of that, of course, is having regular meetings, whether they're face-to-face meetings, phone meetings, or video calls, or whatever the case is, and that will often be dependent on the time and the organisation and the nature of what you do. But making sure that we're having those regular meetings, and they should be embedded within your plans. So that's if you take a systematic approach and say, in the sense of, we have regular touch points at these particular times within the project, or these, it may even all be this particular day of a week. Once you systemize that, then it becomes a lot easier to manage and execute than if it's more ad hoc.